So today I'm going to interview one of our workshop presenters. She's returning from last year, so that means she was a favorite, Tara Skubella. Tara Skubella is the founder and guide of Earth Tantra. She is an earthing, grounding expert, level 4 certified Tantra guide, death doula, and wilderness survivalist. She has over 22 years experience working in women's outdoor wilderness therapy, social services, family and youth programming, adoption, outdoor guiding, earth science teaching, and so much more. So some people know Tara from Discovery Channel's Naked and Afraid. She is the person who had the most bug bites on record. So I don't even want to think about that. I don't know about you, but that sounds a little intimidating. So maybe we'll hear a little story about that. Tara lives her truth in harmony with Mother Earth by calling her nearly off the grid tiny house. It's on the side of a mountain just outside Ore, Colorado. Tara is going to give a workshop on building an energetic relationship with Mother Earth. It will be Saturday morning, March, I was going to say February, I'm so used to February, March 13th on Saturday morning. So welcome, Tara.
Welcome. Thank you for having me. And I want to point out that thank you. I want to point out that this is not my tiny house.
Oh, okay.
I'm not in my tiny house. I do not have internet in my tiny house.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Your tiny house probably looks very different.
Yes, it does. Very different.
So tell us about yourself. I would like to know what has impacted you the most in your life to live as you do now off the grid?
Oh gosh, what has impacted me the most to live the way that I live? I would say actually there's two things. The first thing would be my childhood. I grew up in a rural community on the edge of a farming town, and I would look out my window and I would see miles of cornfields and I would run through them. And of course, that was back in the day where you didn't want to get lost in a cornfield because we didn't have cell phones and trackers on us. So that was always a fear, I think, of my mother's. But just the freedom to connect with Mother Earth and feeling her. And I couldn't process or put words to it back then, but I understood and I knew what I felt in my body, and it felt really, really good. And then the second would be probably when I started outdoor guiding. And so this would have been in my early to mid 20s. And I was able to live outside in a wilderness therapy guiding situation, sleeping on the earth, eating, going to the bathroom, bathing, everything, starting fire from sticks. So literally living with her resources. So yes.
Well, and that prepared you for the Naked and Afraid, I'm sure.
That did. Yes, partly.
Because what was that? 3 weeks of being 3 weeks long? Being out there?
Yes.
Yeah.
21 days. And I made it the full 21 days.
Yeah, I would imagine not everybody does.
No.
Well, that's amazing. And I suppose some people might think, wow, that would be incredible to do. I'm jealous. I could never do it. Kind of thing. Well, I want to get on to the conference. How will your workshop contribute to the theme, Celebrating Spirit of Woman, United We Are One? I always like, we pick a theme for a reason. It kind of evolves every year. And we really looked at this year, like what was going on, so much going on with COVID, with Black Lives Matter, with politics. And we just wanted to have a theme that focuses on what we do, which is really woman and spirit and creating community and sharing our stories. And how do we do that, and be inclusive for everybody? So how, just briefly, what does that mean to you and the work that you do?
So United to One, not only connecting with humans on the earth, but also connecting with all life on earth, whether that's plant, animals, and then the spirit piece, the energetic piece. And I also look as Mother Earth, the divine feminine. She holds the feminine energy for us. Without her, obviously we wouldn't be here. And so she is part of our unit. She's part of our community. She is part of our one.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And that's a specific, for your workshop. There's one other workshop, Karen Joy Fletcher, who you probably met last year. She's doing one on nature. She takes people outside, but you both come from different places and what you do. So let's talk about, because yours is Earth Tantra. What do you mean? Well, I think a lot of people are familiar with Tantra, but we all have probably different concepts of Tantra. And then you are bringing it in like Earth Tantra. So I'd love for you to share that.
Yeah, so Tantra, basically, if you break down the word tan or tan and then tra, the word tan, if you think of it as weaving, like you're weaving a loom or you're tanning a hide, picking in fibers for expansion of tra, weaving for expansion of. And so within Tantra, there's hundreds of practices, hundreds of modalities, and we get to pick and choose which ones resonate for us, not only as an individual, but maybe for our family, for our community, for a beloved. And that's what I absolutely love about Tantra. And so when I became a Tantric guide after I finished my teacher certification, it just felt very, very natural for me to weave in my background and connection with Mother Earth, because I know that she heals. Well, we might talk more about that a little bit later.
Yeah, yes.
But the healing powers. So Earth Tantra is built upon healing with nature, transforming with Tantra.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for that explanation. That's great.
You're welcome.
So, you bring it up, we're creating a relationship. We all have a relationship with Mother Earth, and some people are probably more aware of it than others. Some people just, walk on. I remember coming back because I had traveled around the world, and being in Asia, it was just very, a sense of people living in a daily spirituality and walking on the earth. You really walked on the earth, and coming home to a city like Seattle or any city, it felt like, we're walking on cement, and we have lost a lot of that touch with Mother Earth. And so I'd love for you to share, because you really work in this area, why that's so important to build a relationship with Mother Earth.
Well, if you think back to our ancestors walked with and upon Mother Earth very, very intimately. They literally, with their bare feet or natural leather product or material underneath their feet. So they were always in very close contact. They sat on her, slept on her, cooked on her, gave birth on her, made love on her. Everything was done in contact with her. And so building a relationship, not only connects us to our ancestral wisdom and ways, it also connects us to her healing powers. And as you kind of gave that example, in modern times, we've moved further and further away from her, separating ourselves with fast movement, cars, planes. I mean, have you ever traveled on a plane and you almost feel like your soul is still in transit from the place that you, maybe not your soul, but something's still trying to catch up with you, your grounding, your centeredness, whatever that is. And then we live in multiple story buildings. We have man-made product between the soles of our feet and her. And how often do we really take off our shoes, stand on her, sit on her, raise up our shirt, put our belly on her? How many times do we work in the garden without gloves? So our contact is more and more limited. But realizing that her healing piece is becoming less and less with the less contact we have with her.
Her healing piece. So yeah, so if we're not in touch with Mother Earth, and it's very healing to garden. My husband is always reminding me to put my gloves on, but there is something about getting your hands in the earth and planting, putting flower, planting seeds, planting flowers. And it's very healing. Sometimes my summers, I might do a focus that I need to work on. And one year it was gardening.
Yep. And sometimes when we think of healing, we actually aren't considering her frequency. So she has a frequency of a 7.8 hertz. And that's the frequency for a very grounded, almost a deep meditative space that if you do meditation, that you can bring yourself into. It's a very centered, deep space. And that's the space also that we sleep in. So that's the time, right, when our body rejuvenates and heals ourselves overnight, when we're sleeping, when we're in a deep meditative space. So she literally does heal us, calms us.
Well, on that, so I'm just thinking of what you're saying. It brings about getting in touch with the energy of the Mother Earth. Would bring that about, and it might happen anyway without being conscious of it. But probably
Yes.
more healing is involved if you are consciously, actively getting in touch with that energy of Mother Earth
Yes.
through meditation or however I would think.
Mhm.
So, what are the benefits that you have received from creating this relationship
Mhm.
personally?
Oh, yes. Well, first of all, I'm a Libra and I have ADHD. So my head is, woo, I'm an air sign, right? I'm up here. I need Earth in my life, and I need a relationship with Mother Earth to keep me grounded and centered. Um, I've learned over the years in my teenage and early adulthood, even actually, I would say up until probably I was on Naked and Afraid. I'm 47 now. I was 40, 41 when I filmed. I had over 600 nights underneath the stars, outside, guiding, hiking the Colorado Trail, living outside, whatever the situation was, camping, backpacking, but I was always doing. So just as you mentioned, the intention, the consciousness of being able to connect with Mother Earth. So I have this great background. It looks good on paper of being outside, right? It's so amazing. But I didn't understand what my relationship was, her, how she heals us, how she recenters us, how we can go to her for soothing. She is our ultimate mother, right? We all wish we had this mother in our life where we can go to, and she's non-judgmental. She provides for us no matter how we treat her. So knowing that her energy is there for me personally throughout the rest of my life. So that's how she's helped me, keeping me calm and centered and appreciated, and yeah, so much more. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it sounds and very rejuvenating, and something that I would
Yes.
think you, the more you do it, the more you have that, and to have a daily practice or
Yes.
a regular practice, maybe not daily, but in order to really get the benefits from this, it's establishing that practice. So, and I know some of this will come up in your workshop, but give us an example of a practice to deepen your relationship with Mother Earth.
Yes. I will share the most common practice and probably the easiest that you can do almost nearly anywhere. And that is the practice of earthing. And earthing is having that direct contact with Mother Earth. So not just being outside, skin to skin contact with Mother Earth. And you can do this by taking off your shoes. You can place your hands on the ground. Even in a cold day like this, the energy from her will be transmitted through the snow or upon a tree. So that direct contact with her, so important versus just being outside.
Well, and you mentioned, like snow in the winter and it's cold and it's a little more of an aversion to get the shoes off. But you mentioned touching trees. So, that's easy
Yes,
enough to do.
tree huggers, always happy.
And you mentioned the vibration of the earth, and you talked about tapping in that. How do we sync our vibration with Mother Earth? And is that the healing element of it, that we put ourselves to resonate with that vibration of the Mother Earth? And
Yes, that is, I would say the primary healing element. There's studies right now, scientific studies of how the frequency lowers our frequency. So if we are feeling very stressed, discombobulated, more in that monkey mind, being in direct contact with her, that frequency is transmitted through our body in the direct contact. Again, you have to have direct contact with her. If you're, sitting outside on a deck above the ground, or in a house, driving in a car, just walking outside, it's not the same.
Mm-hmm. Well, how do you maybe give an example for others? How do you feel that vibration?
Okay, yes. Some people can tune into it fairly easily, others can't. I'm kind of on and off. I know that if I'm in contact with her, that the work is being done. You don't have to make this a long, like, meditative process where you take an hour every day to be in contact with her, even just a few minutes. I would suggest putting aside any, or at least turning off your phone if it's on you. So lowering the frequency of any high vibration that's near you. We can't avoid things like cell towers and satellites, or internet dishes that are around us and things. But she still will lower our vibration with that contact. And even just taking a few mindful minutes, just standing there with your feet upon her a few times a day can really help. Yeah.
So that makes me think of, a lot of the energy work that people do, and evolution of humankind, that we're raising our vibration. And you're talking about lowering with Mother Earth. And so there's
Yes.
kind of a combination there going on.
Well, how high do you want to go in vibration? I mean, there's like the what is it, billion frequency of the cell towers. I mean, I don't think we want to be quite that high. That's detrimental to our cellular structure in our body. So if you think about modern time, especially, and we are surrounded by so many high frequencies in our home, in our towns, even in our parks, because we have cell towers all around us. There aren't very many places where we can go to without high frequency. And I'll say high, healthy frequency, because we can raise our vibration in a healthy way through, yeah. So I guess we'll kind of separate that. A higher healthy versus unhealthy.
Yeah, I wasn't referring to the frequency of,
Yeah.
I think two different things happening there, possibly.
So, and I forgot your question. That's the ADHD.
Oh, just that, we have this raising our vibration for,
Yes.
and then the lower vibration of the earth, of balancing that.
Yes.
You mentioned being a Libra. I'm a Libra too, but yeah, we can be up here. It's like we need that higher vibration too for healing, but we also need to be grounded in it. So tapping into the earth vibration keeps us here. And a lot of people aren't very grounded. And so you can see, they're flying out there, and it helps you. If you are grounded and reaching that vibration of the earth, when you are doing this higher level work of healing, that's on a higher vibrational level. So it's not like one or the other, it's like really making use of both.
Yes.
Tapping into both.
And during my learning and my practice, and what I always teach as well, is when we start to work with a higher vibration, we always start grounded. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that is earthing practice. And we end grounded as well, because we don't want to be way out here dissipating. We want to come back to center and back to self. And the lower vibration also helps with so many health benefits. And I always like to bring up inflammation, because that's a really common one. Mm-hmm. Inflammation, heart patients, high blood pressure, anxiety, insomnia. There's even products. I'm not much of a product pusher when it comes to earthing. I say just use her directly. She's free. But you can buy copper wire to string outside of your bedroom window into the ground and hook it to your toe while you're sleeping to help keep you grounded. But yes. Yeah.
And there's ways to tap in the grounding energy without
Yes.
putting
Actually,
the copper wire. So that's fun. Well, yeah. So you mentioned earthing, and is that different than grounding?
yes. So grounding is a state when we're centered, and we can reach a grounded space through meditation without being in contact with Mother Earth. Sometimes yoga, breath work brings us to a grounding centered space. But again, earthing is specifically direct contact with Mother Earth. So there's two different practices there, but being in direct contact with Mother Earth is a grounding practice like meditation, breath work, yoga, etc.
Yeah, so it's really focusing that you are in touch with Mother Earth, because we can do a lot of grounding, anywhere, in a plane, in our rooms and everything like that. So, so is there anything more? We did talk about healing. Is there anything more that you want to share about healing in this, in the work that you do, or maybe experiences that you and people that you've taught, that you've witnessed people healing?
Yes. I'll bring up one. Well, there's many Earth Tantra students that I could share stories with, but one specific. This was a person that I worked with in a private retreat here on the land where I live. There's a little retreat center. I kind of live on this cliffed out area, and there's different benches. And so Earth Tantra Retreat Center is the bench below where I live. And it's a really special place. And a lot of people have connected and have grown. And it's just a really beautiful collective energy that has been cultivated there. So this one individual came, and they were working on their relationship with Mother Earth very specifically. And I've worked with them a little bit before, but in this retreat, they experienced, and we'll call it an earthgasm. And it was this beautiful space. And we were working with some breath exchange with Mother Earth. And we'll learn about that in the workshop as well. But energy exchange with Mother Earth through breath. And I don't know if you've ever moved energy within your body or through the chakras, and you start to feel these shudders, or like uncontrollable shudders within the body. And this particular individual was having an earthgasm with Mother Earth in a very nurturing and loving way. And he is a beautiful man, and he just wept and wept. And he understood in that moment what the work was about. And he invited me. He wanted to be held. And he had connected with the divine feminine, with Mother Earth in that way. And it was just so incredibly beautiful to witness. Yeah. So that's one example.
It reminds me, I had an experience. Someone did I can't call it, what's a day? I can't call it a workshop, but he had land over in an area of Seattle where there's some land and woods, and we buried ourselves in the earth. I think we had a straw to breathe. And so I was totally, some people it would really bother, but it was so comforting. I loved it to be totally down in the earth and totally 100% covered in this earth that was so comforting. And it felt wonderful. And I have not seen anybody do that since. And it was the kind of earth that you can easily, soft earth, that you can easily put on top of you. It's not heavy or clay-like or whatever. So you mentioned one thing that people would be doing in your workshop. So what do you want people to come away from in the workshop, and also I imagine, how they can apply the practices in their everyday life?
Yes. So learning a few different practices, because the ones that I present, there'll be 6 of them they all may not resonate with you, but a few might. And those will be practices that you can do every day, even if it's winter. And I'm also going to talk how to weave earthing into a space, maybe if you work in a cubicle in a high-rise building, maybe not so popular right now in these times, but when you go back to that, how can you connect with her throughout the day? And with the intention and the consciousness behind your connection with Mother Earth, and also learning about the benefits. So yes, all encompassing. It's for everybody. And what a beautiful way to also take a few of these practices and teach them to your children, your nieces and nephews, your grandchildren, because we aren't taught this. It was just a part of daily life, you know, even just in my generation, running around barefoot was okay. And now it's, oh no, you have to have your shoes on. You might step on something.
We in my generation, we ran around a lot and we were able to be out without our parents. Now, you know, there's more security issues and it seems a little less freedom for children to be out on their own. And we just ran around the neighborhood, you know?
Yes.
And I remember one of my favorite things is we had cousins that lived outside of the city and they had 10 acres. They had 5 acres was woods and 5 acres was pasture.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the most fun to go there. And, you know, we would play in the woods and we had gun practice, shoot bottles off of a log and just, you know, and it was great to be out there. And, you know, I don't know how many people who live in the city have that opportunity too, to get away from the city and have places to go. I mean, we can go to parks and we can go, you know, find walks and all that, but it's a favorite memory of mine as a kid.
Yes. And it's a beautiful memory. And remember those feelings, that sense of connectedness and freedom. Yeah. And I also want to say that this workshop is also going to present practices for people who live in a city. So it's just not for, you know, people who live out in the country or on acreage. All you need is a 1 by 1 foot piece of land. Even if there's a tree in the middle growing out of it in the sidewalk, that's okay. Or if you have access to soil, because we're also going to be talking about bringing that indoors, or a tree.
Yeah, I pictured that. I mean, just having plants in your house and a little, but even not even just plants, but bringing a pot of earth in and on your altar or on your work table and having flowers. I mean, I just, you know, having flowers, and I forget to, I like to keep my flowers on the plants outside. I don't always cut them and bring them in because I just like them staying longer outside in my garden. But when I remember to go like buy some flowers in the store and have them in the house for a while, it's just, you know, it just brightens up your day. So it's another way of bringing the earth into Mother Earth in, because it's something, you know, grown from her, and then just having green plants and pots and things like that is great to do. Not everybody has a green thumb, and yeah. So what would you like the listeners to walk away with from our talk today? What last message would you like to give them?
Consider your relationship with Mother Earth. Is it something that you embrace, something that you're curious about? Does your inner child want to play with her and discover? Is it something that you fear? Because sometimes people have a fearful relationship with Mother Earth. So just consider your relationship with Mother Earth. That's all. Bring awareness.
Oh, that's great. Thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you, Chris.
Great. It's great to see you. And just know that even though we're going to be online and it's not just Zoom, we have a platform that there will be breakout rooms, there will be opportunities to interact with people, smaller groups or one-on-one, and however Tara sets that up. So it'll be experiential as much as we can be. And plus we have this community board that after your workshop, if you connect with somebody in your workshop, you can go meet them in our community board and have another discussion with them, or set up a group like, hey, everybody, let's do an earthing exercise. Let's meet in the community board and do an earthing exercise. So there's lots of opportunities, and there'll be more information about that once we publish that site.
Yes, it's earthtantra.com. And just look for the green spiral.